Hello, I'm Evaleila Pesaran, and I'm the author of Imperial Power, Anti-Imperial Resistance, and the Shaping of International Hierarchies, Lessons from 1930s Persia. In this video, I'm going to provide you with a brief overview of the paper, outlining the overall argument and the key points. In this article, I argue that while Western-dominated international hierarchies have proved resilient overall, some aspects of these hierarchies have been altered by episodes of anti-imperial resistance. I show how acts of resistance on the part of peripheral countries have been able to challenge Western domination and thereby affect the nature of international hierarchies. They have been able to do this even though Western powers have tended to reinforce the broader hierarchies in response to this resistance. I explore this argument with specific reference to the case study of the 1930s Anglo-Persian oil dispute. This dispute resulted from the Persian government's cancellation of its oil concession with the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. In response to the cancellation, Britain referred Persia to the Council of the League of Nations. At the League, the two sides were asked to re-enter direct negotiations, and these resulted in a completely new concession. In some respects, given that the revised concession was highly favourable to the oil company, it may seem that the episode was no more than a failure for Persia. However, I show that the case study is highly significant for our understanding of power, resistance, and the shaping of international hierarchies. Firstly, the Persian case study highlights the interwar years as an important period of transition. In the 1930s, Persia was one of a small number of non-Western countries that remained uncolonized. And so we see through this oil dispute an early example of the kinds of struggles that would be faced by post-colonial states later in the century. Secondly, the Persian case allows us to see the role of corporations in the formation of hierarchies. The oil dispute involved not just the Persian and British governments, but the Anglo-Persian Oil Company too. This corporate involvement reminds us that states are not the only actors involved in the formation and reformation of international hierarchies. In making this argument, I build on the body of research that's located at the intersection between political economy, law, international relations, and history. This scholarship acknowledges that relations of both domination and resistance have been involved in the constitution of the hierarchical structures that persist today. The three main bodies of literature that I refer to are dependency theory and world systems theory, third world approaches to international law, and post-colonial theory, as well as the growing scholarship on international hierarchies. This literature tends to highlight that post-colonial and peripheral states have lower levels of material capacity, that international law historically emerged to legitimize the exploitation of these states rather than their protection, and that they inhabit a lower social status in international society than Western states do. Therefore, I organized the paper around an exploration of material, legal, and social hierarchies in the international system. I make detailed use of historical documents from the BP archives and the National Archives to show how the events of the 1930s Anglo-Persian oil dispute contributed to shifts in the material, legal, and social hierarchies of the interwar period, while nevertheless reinforcing the existence of hierarchies overall. Specifically, I show how Britain was obliged to make use of the institutional structures of the League of Nations rather than resort immediately to military force. New norms of multilateral diplomacy emerged as a constraint on imperial powers' use of violence at this time. In the area of international law, the oil dispute was an important step on the path towards oil exporting countries gaining the rights of natural resource sovereignty. the rights of peripheral states were broadening, and the roots of the new international economic order can be found in interwar Persia. Finally, I show how the oil dispute attracted significant attention in the international arena, with expressions of sympathy and support for Persia's attempt to stand up to British imperial power. In this sense, the episode showed peripheral countries how they could gain strength in numbers and thereby improve their social status in the international arena. Overall, while recognizing the limits presented by deep-rooted imperial structures, this paper's exploration of the Anglo-Persian oil dispute highlights the significance of anti-imperial resistance to the shaping of international hierarchies. Thank you for your time watching this video abstract. If you'd like to find out more, please read the paper.